Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of January 19th through the 25th. And if you remember from last week, I talked about how the sun and Venus and Mars and Mercury were kind of in a race together, all at the end of Capricorn, and Venus ended up going into Aquarius a little bit before the rest of them. So this week, and then we had the new moon, where the new moon got out there at the end of Capricorn too. So this week's a continuation of that energy because Mercury and Mars are going to follow suit. So we're going to end up having a lot of the same connections with Mercury and Mars to those outer planets right before they go into Aquarius also. And then once they all go into Aquarius, they're all going to end up conjuncting Pluto. So we got some interesting energy going on because there's Capricorn energy has been very strong the last month or two, especially with Mars there. A very strong sign, very strong armed, authoritarian, disciplinarian, not very receptive energy. And then all of a sudden, we're now going to go into Aquarius energy, which is like the higher octave of Saturn. It's a very different energy. It realizes that there's problems in the systems and it doesn't want to necessarily throw that system out, but it wants to start to work on correcting those problems and making it better. So there's going to be a lot of switching of the energy this week. And that's the main things I'm going to talk about. A little business first. The Astrological Wings channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. And I've been doing it for, I think this is the 6th year now. And it's what I'd really like you to do if you're a YouTube person, you have an account, is to become a follower too if you like what you see. And don't forget, when you become a follower, turn on your notifications so that you know when I post the blog. Also, what I ask everyone to do, since I'm doing it for free, is that you pass the link along to somebody else in your contacts. If you've done it before, please do it again. Over half the world believes in astrology, so it's not some risky thing to do or something. Let people check it out. I love to see the blog grow that way. That's the way I find people who are really solid and really want to check it out. Also, the blog is available as a podcast still. It's been one for many years, beyond long before it was a YouTube channel. So just look up on your app for podcasts, Astrological Winds channel, and you'll find the exact same audio copy of this video that I'm doing on YouTube, so you're not missing any content. And that frees you up, to do it where you don't have to actually be watching something with your eyes, like you're driving to work or something. And I know our time is really valuable these days, so it's a great way to check it out when you're doing something else physically. Also has its own Instagram page, Astrological Winds channel. So if you want to become a follower of that, it will show up on your newsreel. Sometimes I post some other stuff there, not too often lately. And it's always available on my website, which is www.astrologicalwinds.com. And you'll see a little tab on top with the blogs on it. And it has about 3 or 4 months of blogs there. So you can always go back and refer to stuff from before. Some of the annual ones from the past are there too. Also has my menu for all my astrological services. I've been a professional astrologer doing charts professionally for 24 years now. And that was after 7 years of professional training. So love to do your chart. So check it out, or if you know someone else looking for those services. And I'll talk more about that at the end. So anyway, yeah, don't get caught up on the terms now. If you don't know the astrology well, listen, you want to get the interpretations mainly. And remember, please pass it along. So the energy is from Monday to Friday this week, with the sun and Mercury and Mars all making those same aspects and going into Aquarius. And once again, really, last week I talked about how Venus and really the sun was already doing this, because yesterday, Sunday, we had that new moon in Capricorn. So this week, Mercury and Mars are going to do the same things. They're going to sextile the Saturn Neptune conjunction and trine Uranus at the same time. And then they'll go right into Aquarius after that. And so once again, I see this, just as I said last week, as an opportunity to really get ideals that we have into some reality right now, because we're getting some new insights on how we can do that. And so there's opportunities right now to get them into some kind of concrete form in the world. So you got all three of the inner planets plus the sun there. So it's like, this is our everyday life right now. And this is us personally involved in it. A lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of things shifting around. And I'm sure that people are getting a lot of insights into things personally and in relation to that, how that works in the world. So this is really, really a ripe time to work with that kind of energy, right? And with Mercury, that's going to be about our thoughts and beliefs. That there should be some, literally some changes going on inside us right now. That's giving us some kind of new perceptions, new insights into the way that we can get our ideals the way we could imagine them to be, is a good way to say it. The way that we're inspired to see them somehow be, to get them into some concrete form. Perhaps it's just like, doing some legwork for that, paperwork for that, using technology for that, using the computer for that, making plans about it, having serious communications about it, sharing information and knowledge about it, all of these things, trying to push what we see as our beliefs now and our thoughts about reality. And really, with this energy, you can make some amazing connections with others. Like, it can almost feel like you're reading each other's minds, like boom, boom, boom. Like you're completing each other's thoughts. Is a good way to say it. And it just continues to bring up this energy of this ball of inspiration and about the changes that you want to see. So, and there's, and to me too, there's a lot of deep, like, spiritual type belief in consciousness and being a certain way that's driving this energy that's starting to spawn a lot of these new insights. So it's very, very exciting energy for the mind. It feels like a great awakening, really. It really does. And it seems like all the world is trying to, help you along and help you find new solutions to the way that you want to put things out, the way that you want to do things. So this is a time, where the new experiences we have seem to really kind of be matching the moments and trying to push us ahead. It's almost as if life is conspiring with us on a personal level to go forward. And so it's a great time to introduce new techniques into your skill set that can bring it up a level, bring you to the next level. You can get some incredible information from the studies that you do right now, and the conversations that you have bring you some really great new insights that can help you do that, up your game, so to speak. And this is like highly intuitive energy. This is really where you want to trust your intuition. So it's really one of the best things about this energy to me is like where you can clearly see where things are not right, where they've gone wrong, right? And you can see new techniques, ways, answers that can be plugged into them now and help make them right. I mean, it's a time where people can really share that advice with each other and get a lot of benefit from each other in that way. And like I said, and we add Saturn to all that, And then we can really take these ideas now and have the opportunity, have the discipline to do the details on them, to work on them, to have a serious attitude about it, to realize it's going to take time, but you got to keep moving forward step by step. And that's the way you can start to change the world around you. The power of our ideals and the power of our thoughts can, once they are put into action, if we use this energy correctly, can start changing the energy around you. And that can change the environment. It can change the way the world responds to you. It can change your relationships. And that can help to start change greater things in the world that you may want to see change also. And then you get Mars involved too. And then that's, so what, Mars is like, our actions. So it's like, we're being motivated by the stuff that Mercury is bringing in, by the stuff that new moon brought in with the sun, by the stuff even Venus brought in with connections to people before that. And when you take Mercury and Mars together, that is really strengthening beliefs, right? It's now our thoughts are what's motivating Mars to act. So, so this, once again, Mars with these nice connections to Saturn and Neptune shows that our actions can be very balanced right now, can be in harmony. They can be in a thing where they're not like overly shocking the system. They can be very purposeful in their execution. They can be disciplined in their execution. But once again, what's driving that is these beliefs that we have beyond those actions, and then wanting to bring those beliefs from these abstract things down into the physical world. And we have a really, when Mars is with these guys too, like this, we have a really strong desire to work with groups and to work with others where we feel like it's not only a benefit to ourselves, but it's a benefit to everybody around us, and hopefully a benefit to society itself. So we really can start to fine tune and adjust our goals and based on our beliefs right now. And taking actions right now will spur the Uranus part too, where it will break us out of these old routines and patterns and bring a lot of new excitement into our lives through our actions. It's a time where we can really break through a lot of the inhibitions that we've had, a lot of our own shadow, a time where we can be very firm about what we believe in and not be convinced otherwise, and know what we're capable of. But if so, there's like new parts of us that are coming out that we can see can be very beneficial. And Mars energy with this makes us very honest, very diligent about what we're doing too. So that, and you bring in the Saturn part, and once again that brings us impatience. We're very focused on our goal and have a really good attitude about it, that we're not, we're using this energy to motivate us, the things that we want to see happen, and the new insights that we're getting, so we can be very positive, very enthusiastic about what we're believing in, yet at the same time be very serious about it too, and put it into action. And then, like I said last week, if you check the blog out last week, Venus went into Aquarius first, and then Monday the sun is going to go into Aquarius. Then Tuesday Mercury will follow, going into Aquarius. Wednesday they will conjunct one another, and then Thursday Mercury will conjunct Pluto. Friday Mars will go into Aquarius and conjunct, and the sun will conjunct Pluto. So basically, from Monday to Friday, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all going into Aquarius, and Mercury and the Sun and Pluto will all conjunct one another, and Mars will catch up with that later in the week. But that's like one whole package of energy together, really. So the three of these going into Aquarius means we really want to try new things, new beliefs, new thoughts, new actions. This is all about that new energy. Like I said, moving out of Capricorn after over things that we can be very like stubborn about, in the sense of like, well, this is the way it worked, this is tradition, this is the authority, this is the discipline, into something where, no, wait a minute, there's like a lot of problems in those things and they need some changes brought in. So this is where the Aquarius can really do that. It can really get us very interested in new thoughts, new beliefs, new actions. And there's an awful, even though Aquarius is a very group oriented sign, there is an awful lot of respect for the uniqueness of each individual and how their uniqueness is needed to make society and the group the best. So so this is a time where we really, even though it's that group sign, we really want to share our uniqueness on a personal level with others. And what that usually means is we want to be with our friends. We really want to be with the people we're most like. And it brings out our like kind of individualism, our alternative part of us, our rebellious streak, so to speak. We do. Aquarius has very fixed ideas and beliefs, and it's not easy to change our mind. However, they are very cutting edge also. They're trying to break through old standards and beliefs. And so it's a time too when we can use technology, we can use science, all that stuff to feed the intellect, to feed the ideas, to bring these things up and more useful and efficient and beneficial for all. Um, it's really a time, like I said, where we're merging our goals with something greater, with the group, and we can really tap into some very original thoughts and ideas that, like I said, break through standards, old beliefs. So it really excites us on an intellectual level. It's a fixed air sign, and we don't allow our emotions to carry us away now. In fact, we a lot of times we just push them away because we don't want them distracting to these intellectual insights that we're getting now. We're very active in trying to push the beliefs that we have into society. So you can see this is really potently ripe energy for this. And then when we have a conjunction like the Sun and Mercury and Pluto all conjuncting one another this week, and then Mars into next week, conjunctions are always like they're like a new moon. They're like new energy where new things can start, new beginnings can start. And this is very powerful energy, very intellectual energy that can see to the core of things with this conjunction with Pluto. It's ready to commit to something new based on what we're seeing. And we're bound to have some very intense experiences that sink really deeply into our being, and will sink really deeply into our minds also. There can be a lot of growth, a lot of expansion of consciousness, a lot of purging of old ideas. There may be certain situations that are needing cleaning up, that are needing reformation, that are needing repairing, things like that. And this is very intense energy, so it can get us into power struggles with certain people who are power trippers, who are authorities, who are like still trying to live that old Capricorn thing. So, it really can also get our thinking into overdrive. We can really get extremely obsessive with this kind of energy, following certain trains of thoughts down rabbit holes, and then get very coercive with our communications and trying to push those thoughts, those beliefs, and ideas onto others. But it's a really great energy because of that focus. The mind is like a laser beam to like really do research, to go deeply deeply into things, to understand the inner workings of not only what's driving us, ourselves, but other people and the world and life itself. Like, how did it get to this point? How did it get there? We also need to be like really aware of how strong and powerful and influential our words are. And so, like, because of that, we want to keep them honest, because if we don't, we're going to probably end up getting some really negative reactions to that, and things can really blow up then into strong power struggles, into really like things flying around in negative ways. Other thing that we can do because of that obsessiveness is we can really blow things up out of like the degree of importance that they actually have. We can be very subjective about what important about what's important to us, and literally like get narrow minded. But we definitely want to connect with others, right? With this energy because of the Aquarius, but others who are seeing things the same way that we're seeing things now. But it's subjective energy. With the Sun and Mercury together, it's very subjective energy. And what we're interested in, we have to be really into it. Otherwise, we don't really hear very well. That's one of the things about conjunctions. They're very they're not good listening because we're so obsessed with what our own subjective viewpoints are. But and a lot of this energy too, you think about this stuff, all this stuff can be applied to anything in your life in the real world that you're getting deep insights into. With Mercury, that can be stuff with business. It might not just be the ideas and the communication, it might be things about business that are really important to you. But with the Sun there in life, with the Mars there, anything that's motivating you, it can be brought over into relationships too. You can see really deeply into that stuff too. We talked about that last week. But once again, one of the big lessons we're getting with all this is to see how our actions, thoughts, beliefs, words, communications all influence the world around us, all influence the environment, the people that we're connecting with. Um, so this is energy where we're really engaged with the world, really engaged with the experiences and what we're trying to do right now, and therefore can really see those influences. But it's a great time to initiate energy. It's a great time to be really serious about the changes you want to see in the future, not only for yourself, but the people around you and society. And another thing about this too, with Mercury too, is like even any kind of travel you do now can bring in some extraordinary experiences too that can be very transformational to our beliefs and ideas, because it's just bringing in new stuff again. So I really expect a lot of things to start moving forward this week. We should feel it inside ourselves, with all these personal planets in our lives, changes that we want to see come in, and then are connecting out into society, wanting to bring these new things in and being very deeply engaged in it this week, to like to this obsessive kind of level, and getting some very deep insights into that, and then wanting to really to, to take concrete steps in order to start moving forward with that, realizing that things can't go on the way they're going, and that we need to introduce changes into the system where we're seeing these flaws from the insights that we're getting. So that really is like some really deep, intense energy this week. It's a real big shift. And once again, very much fitting with a lot of that Aquarius energy, and all these outer planets this year are changing signs, and really the earth and society and humans going through a great change right now. And a lot of conflicting beliefs, but a lot of exposure too to the effect that beliefs and thoughts have, and really what it's coming down to is what, choices that do we want to make? Do we want to fall back into old patterns that may be based on fears, or do we want to move into new patterns that are based on like receptiveness, on love, on openness, on unity, on trying to connect people, instead of like trying to divide people. And that starts within ourselves, just trying to, find the things in ourselves first that we need to be in congruence with, and then starting to bring that out into our world and seeing how that affects our environment, seeing how that affects our relationships, watching those changes, and then seeing how we can continue to feed them. And yes, bring those ideals and those insights into something solid in this world that benefits you and the people around you, and hopefully everyone else too. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. That's what I got for this week. I know next week we do have a full moon again. And yeah, so I'll be talking about that next week. It's the last week of the month. We got a full moon in Leo, which will actually be opposite the Mars and Pluto still, since they move a little slower. Um, but Neptune is going into Aries finally for good next week. And yeah, so we'll have a couple other things to talk about too. Mercury and Venus moving together still too. So what I need you to do right now is pass the link along to somebody else, even if you've done it before. If you'd like to give a currency donation, no amount is too small. It does cost me a little money to put this out every month. And my Venmo is the A with the circle, Matthew, and Matthew is with two T's and then a hyphen in the middle, and Lauten, Lawton. And my Cash App is $ Matthew Lawton, Lauten, all one word. Like I said, no amount's too small. The best way to support me is to check out my website, check out my professional services. When you or someone you know need a reading, I'm here for you. I've done so many readings at this point in my life, 24 years worth of professional astrology readings, after 7 years of training, after 10 years of being into astrology personally before that. So you're tapping into someone who has 40 years experience. And believe me, it's a way different experience than having a computer print out something for you, or trying to check out something in a book, or a friend that dabbles. It'll be a holistic experience, well worth the investment in yourself to get your chart done, and every year get your predictive readings done. If you need help with relationship charts, specific questions, timings of events, deeper soul purpose, children's relocation, all those things are available. The group, if you have a group that needs a lecture, a workshop, a class, mini readings for some kind of event, I'm available for that. Check the website out, www.astrologicalwinds.com. If you're a student who's a beginner, I have some podcast ones. I will start a beginners or intermediate classes if I have four people committed to doing that ahead of time. And we could do that live monthly, probably 2 to 4 times a month. So anyone interested in that, check the website out, contact me. My email is matthue823@gmail.com. Okay, I'll see y'all next week, and we'll talk about that full moon in Leo, amongst other things. Until then, we've got a lot of powerful energy to work with as we move into this age of Aquarius. A lot of change going on. So be part of it. Don't let it sweep you away.